Hello everyone, this is Maniac for Bricks. Every now and then on this channel, I would show a variety of video games that I would collect or a little bit of gameplay and sometimes do room tour updates. But now I'm ready to go into a new area when it comes to video game related videos. Let me introduce you to a new series called Gamecdote, or Gaming Anecdote, matching the two words together. Let's begin! Whoa, Mr. Brick Aficionado. I thought this channel was all about LEGO content. Oh, for a majority of it. But I wanted people to know that outside of LEGO, I have a couple of hobbies I keep up with from time to time. In fact, I've actually shown video gameplay on this channel before, and I've even reviewed other toys outside of the LEGO brand. Okay then, but don't you have other YouTube channels for all that sort of stuff? Yes, but I wouldn't tap into those channels as frequently as I tap into this one when it comes to making video content. So I thought, why not simplify things and just put some of my personal interests together onto one channel, and show them every so often. Alright, well, if it allows me, Maniac for Games, to still exist, I'm okay with that. Oh yeah, and what's his name? Our little buddy, Maniac for Toys, over in the corner. Hi guys! I take care of all the other toys and even some of the TV shows and movies that Joey likes. So with that said, let's go on with our first episode of Gamecdote, a series in which I go through video games and video game franchises from my point of view. Many times these will be retrospective glimpses on the video games that I grew up with, but some may be more documentary style in how the game shaped me as a gamer. And in today's video, we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, right! You've known this Blue Blur for a long time. I remember your first experiences with the original game on a plug-and-play version of the Sega Genesis. In fact, I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was on that same version. Yeah, most people know about the Sega Does with Nintendo rivalry of the 1990s. But it is true, I grew up starting with the 2D Sonic games, and at the turn of the century was able to get them in multiple platforms. Say, why don't we play them again for all of our lovely viewers out there? I mean, you've honed your craft since you last played, am I right? I don't think we'll have enough time to play all of them on the video, though. Oh, what's the matter? Afraid of a little water? Quit chemical planting ideas in my head! Sorry, everyone. So anyways, I grew up with Nintendo products and usually favored the platforming of Mario games. But my neglect for Sonic changed on the arrival of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. It started off with this Nintendo Power magazine showing the fastest thing alive in a new game on the GameCube. I played that game to death with my brother, taking turns on the story mode and competing in the multiplayer. I drew Sonic artwork here and there, and he became so iconic to me. I get it, iconic Sonic. But wasn't there a Sonic Adventure 1? Well, yeah, obviously, but I played it on the director's cut for the GameCube too. Graphically, Sonic Adventure 2 was more advanced. Both are equally digestible in terms of plot and characters, and I still have fun playing them over and over to this day. Especially your favorite levels. Say it. Security Hall and Cannon's Core. Stop it! By the way, you forgot to mention Big the Cat's ever so loving fishing levels. Don't worry, I'll take it from here. Shortly after, I stumbled upon the official North American website, Sonic Central, and revisited to learn about new games and listen to soundtracks. Yes, I actually liked going through the sound test of Sonic games to listen to the music. How couldn't I? Sonic games always rocked in the soundtrack. And don't get me started on Studiopolis from Sonic Mania. Good music. Yep, they still got it. Yeah, but you don't. Hey. Afterwards, Sonic was on the brain. I woke up Saturday mornings to watch Sonic X on Fox, played through Sonic Heroes with each team, and even got the spin-off titles like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Riders 1 on opening day. Well, just because I was hyped about these titles doesn't mean I still like them now. The gun mechanic of Shadow the Hedgehog was barely enjoyable, and the after every hit annoyingly edgy, and Sonic Riders just had a few dodgy cutscenes, and a little bit uncomfortable animation. I can still feel the marks in the palm of my hand from spinning the joystick as fast as possible.
After that time, me and Sonic drifted off.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Right. I was usually behind on getting the next gen of consoles or handhelds, and while many games were produced, I didn't really pay attention to them outside of the Nintendo Power articles. And even then, my hype was pretty much gone.
Since then, I went back to the older games, but not out of nostalgia. And not just the Adventure series.
What are you doing?
But mainly
No,
because
stop it! Ah! Alright, I admit it. I never complete a 2D Sonic game. There, I said it. You happy now? Now the internet knows.
Yes, it's true. The 2D side-scrollers were always tough on me. Even with Mario, I have a few I can claim I finished.
But Sonic games always have the impression of high-paced excitement that takes physics by the horns, right?
Unless your name is Maniac for Bricks and you can't jump good.
Whether I played it years ago or just before this video, I always hit a wall in playing classic Sonic games. And I don't mean the Barrel and Carnival Night Zone either. Some of you may remember my old gameplays in which I spent video after video backtracking to where I had a game over. And even then, I barely made progress. And it's not just me. I played Sonic Spinball with one of my friends, and we were both stumped by the clunky controls and the movement.
Ah, thank goodness for YouTube Let's Plays. With Sonic gameplay on Game Grumps and Super Beard Bros, I still found a way to enjoy the radical style of the blue blur without the personal case of Gerard syndrome.
That's being stuck in one spot in a game, taking tons of lives to pass.
So tell me now, how can you make a video about Sonic the Hedgehog when the majority of the games that you own, you've never beaten?
I'm not saying it's a bad franchise. I know that there are black sheep and bugs that keep Sonic games consistently fun to play. I don't believe in a perfect Sonic game. But I do also know that at my level as a gamer, despite going into countless platformers, there are very few that I can finish. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are high on my list of favorite Sonic games despite their age, because they're easier to play and explore in my opinion. I haven't mastered them, but in general, I have a good time with them.
So what you're saying is you gotta get good with them.
Well, yes, but even after his jump into 3D, I still enjoyed the iconography of Sonic the Hedgehog. It was catchy, unique, and admittedly more personality than our Nintendo plumber. That's why I was dedicated to the first few seasons of Sonic X when I was a kid. Heck, I still have the Game Boy Video cartridge that shows the first 2 episodes from the show.
There's still a handful of Sonic games I haven't tried yet that I own. Some of which including Sonic Colors and Sonic Gems collection. And yes, I have played Sonic 06 for those who are wondering, but honestly, I was bored instead of terrified after the first few levels of gameplay. And a lot of loading and cutscenes.
Yeah, we get the point. And maybe in the future I'll give those a chance, even Sonic 06, to see how horrible it actually is. With the hype of even watching Sonic Mania gameplay, I can say in my gaming history, Sonic is not dead in the water.
Yep, I agree. Sonic's just dead in chemicals and blocks in Sonic 2.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this basically pilot episode of Gamecdote. I still have a couple things in order to work out as far as the editing goes, but I hope you got the concept and are going to enjoy the rest of the series. I don't think every one of these is going to have my doppelgangers in it, but I think it's still fun to try to have that for just some extra entertainment. I'm really looking forward to the next couple of episodes. I already have some scripts underway for them, and they will be airing a little bit later, more towards October. So if you'll bear with me, you'll get to see them at some point later on a more regular basis. Thank you for watching, and let me know of your experiences with Sonic the Hedgehog. Just keep it clean in the comments. Don't try to go after anyone that opposes what you think. Just keep it very nice and clean, as I know it is a controversial thing. We'll see you next time with more videos.
Can you feel the sunshine? Does it brighten up the day?
If you recall, in 2017, I set a goal that I would start a new YouTube series on my channel, Maniac 4 Bricks. It was a video game-based series called Gamecdote, which would be all about my personal experiences and opinions about video games and how they've shaped me as a gamer over time. Unfortunately, there hasn't really been an episode until October of 2017, and not much since then. Even the original pilot episode I was thinking about in the background, called Pokemon A Retrospective, was actually pushed back quite a bit. So eventually I will get to that episode and many more, but I'm happy to air a new episode today of Gamecdote. Hello everybody, this is Maniac 4 Games, and we're here with another episode of Gamecdote, where I talk about my personal experiences with video games and how they've changed over time and have shaped me as a gamer. I just have to give a few disclaimers before we get going with this video. Number one, I am very sorry that the camera may be shaky throughout the video when I am in the visual. The reason is I can't seem to find my tripod at the moment to have a very steady camera going throughout the video, so I am recording this off of a selfie cam. Embarrassing, but I wanted to get that out of the way for those who may be curious. Number two, I am not at all partnered with the Game Theorists, and that is not the reason why I'm wearing this jacket. It is a video game related merchandise that I thought would be nice to have here, whether or not it's about another YouTuber, and I did want to give a special thank you to Mr. Kevin Hinkle, who sent me this earlier this week in a surprise mail haul. So I wanted to have it as a good use for this episode of Gamecdote. And third, I apologize if things aren't all up to par yet. I am still working through trying to make this series better as far as the style of it, the writing that goes into it, and the visuals that will accompany it. So if you have any suggestions to make it a better series, let me know in the comments down below. Now, let's get into our second episode, where we'll be talking about something that goes right behind what video games are about, and that is the strategy guides and Nintendo Power. Let's begin. There's always fun to be had when playing a video game for the first time and finding everything as much as you can while going through it. You get to learn about the gameplay and mechanics of the game in order to go forward and try to complete it all the way through. But for all those times where some people have struggles with the video game, there's always a backup to that. And in the era that I grew up in, as well as the generation before me growing up with home entertainment video games, we had things like Nintendo Power and strategy guides to help us along the way. Before the internet was a vast source of information as we have it today, our biggest source of finding gamer information and even some tips and strategies outside of an actual Nintendo hotline or some way of contacting with cheat codes, we had things like Nintendo Power to help us along the way. My start into Nintendo Power began with volume 154. This is from March of 2002 of Nintendo Power, and I think the cover pretty well explains why. If you know from my last video about Sonic and the mainline Sonic games, I was really into Sonic the Hedgehog at this time, and I was really excited for the new Sonic Adventure 2 battle. I've only seen a little bit of some gameplay here and there, but I was really excited to read more about this while I was grocery shopping with my mom at ShopRent. And I still remember to this day, almost photographically, being in the store and getting excited to pick this thing up. I don't actually have it for this issue particularly. This is actually a second copy of it, since the original one, while I still have it here, is a bit more beat up. But I am happy to have my first introduction of Nintendo Power in a cleaner copy. Not only was it fun to read a whole big article about Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, but also had a lot of insight to other games that were coming out at the same time, some tips and tricks on current games that have been out for some time, and even some fan art and fan mail that was appearing in different parts of the issue. Eventually, my brother and I decided to get a subscription to Nintendo Power, starting with volume 198 from December of 2005, back when the Nintendo Wii, before it was unveiled, was called the Nintendo Revolution. Yeah, remember those days? So, this is going quite a ways back. It was still fun to read through different issues and get to learn all different tips and tricks, and also get some insight as to the gaming community. There was a lot of fun things through there over the years that I was really interested in. Some of my favorite parts of it were the Game Watch forecast, which had a very cataloged way of analyzing different games and their systems and when they would appear. There was also different articles that would be about a single game and giving a good taste of what it's about. There was also a tips and tricks corner, which is probably my favorite part of it, and I did use it quite often with games that I've already played a bunch through, but I also got to check out some other secrets that I didn't know beforehand. People would write in on the fan mail section and get some answers from Nintendo Power, whether or not they were associated with Nintendo at the time, and even had a special section in the community in order to show some really cool stuff inspired by their favorite video games. In all that time, with a few gaps here and there, I've been able to acquire about 70 issues of Nintendo Power. I'm happy that recently I found a whole bunch of them in a box in my garage, so I could have them back again on display near my gaming equipment, and maybe read through them for some extra tips and things that I missed over the course of that time. I can't say with any certainty I read every single issue from front to back, but I think there'll be a charm to reading through some of these once again. To go along with gaming and reading, I also have a series of strategy guides I've collected over time. Most of the time when I would get each of these, they were included with the game that I received as a gift, usually from relatives for either a birthday or Christmas. The earliest one that I can recall was when I received The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask and did get the strategy guide with it. Well, back then it was a full copy. Then this one has had a few ripped pages here and there, especially to keep a separate page out for all of the songs that were played throughout the game. And a collection of other things. I think there was like a large poster or some kind of 2-page spread in there, but I'm sure that other part of the issue is around here somewhere. Mostly just the cover. But otherwise, I've had a good time with issues like these because they offered a little bit more insight to a game that I would have really been invested in. Usually my brother would get to play them before me, but we'll talk more about that at a later time. But this was a fun way to go through the game in case I had some troubleshooting on certain parts, especially for the Legend of Zelda series where certain dungeons may be very tricky and have full of puzzles that I'm not too sure about. Later on, I would say the next best time that I had a strategy guide wasn't actually involved with a gift, and instead this was one that my brother and I purchased for Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Sapphire. We got the games as gifts, but we went out and purchased the strategy guide ourselves. We played through a whole bunch of the game up to this point, but we wanted to use this as a way of seeing different types and seeing how Pokemon evolve, just to get our Pokedexes filled and try to explore everywhere we could in the Hoenn region. I will have to say with this one, it offered some really good tips and helped us get almost 99% of our Pokedexes completed. I'll talk more about Pokemon in its own video, but I do have to mention this little tidbit about Feebas. And we weren't quite sure, even with the strategy guide, as to how to catch him, but maybe sometime later I will finally complete this Pokedex. Even though I enjoyed the Nintendo Power subscription for so many years, there was a point where it didn't quite work out for me as well. There was a point where I wasn't going to get every single game that was coming out or that I saw in there that's advertised and may have been interesting to me. I was behind a generation or so when it came to the consoles in general, so some information just became irrelevant to me. I played a lot of the Game Boy Advance, but I didn't really own a Nintendo DS, so it didn't mean that much to me to read about it in Nintendo Power. Even the Wii I was falling a bit behind before it became the Wii U, and at some point I just stopped reading them and let the subscription die out in its natural death. And then, about a year later, in 2012, we saw the Nintendo Power release their final issue, harkening back to the original one. I think that was a very charming thing, and I am a bit disappointed I did not get the final issue as a nice homage. But I think it was a great way for it to go out, and I kind of understand why it's not a big thing anymore for gaming magazines in general, and not just with Nintendo Power. When Nintendo Power and other gaming magazines were launching in the late 80s and early 90s, the internet wasn't really a big source of information when it came to gaming. People were a lot more invested into a subscription magazine in order to get all of their gaming news, tips, and strategies. But nowadays, with the internet, you can find a lot of information very easily and for free. You don't even have to subscribe to anything to get news about the latest video games, interviews, or reviews, or any information that would make these magazines obsolete. And I do want to say that the same thing kind of applies to strategy guides. They are a nice, thorough walkthrough of any given game that you want to get, but I don't really see them selling that well in stores. And I think it goes down to the same issue here. People just want to either play the game itself or watch a gameplay of it. If they get stuck in a certain area, they'll get to see if somebody else was able to conquer it, instead of having to pick up a $20 book in order to read about it. I totally understand that's why it has moved on, but I still see strategy guides in stores today for even the latest of video games. And for me, I'm still a part of the GameStop Pro subscription, which allows Game Informer to come into my mailbox, and sometimes I get it over emails. So it's still around in some way for me, but it's not as big as it was back in the early 2000s. But it was still a fun way to go back into what I grew up with and how it shaped me as a gamer. It was a nice way of interacting with the community because I got to see a lot of creativity and also get to learn about games as they were coming out, whether or not I was going to pick them up right away. So thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope everything worked well, and if it needs some improvement, let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to share your history with video game magazines in the comments as well, and even if you've used strategy guides for some of your gaming experiences. I even personally use gaming walkthroughs online nowadays, and a bunch of these are probably going to sit on the shelf, but they'll be a nice display item just in case I want to go back for something special. We'll see you next time with more videos, and hopefully more episodes soon of Gamecdote.